Hey guys, welcome to Business Stats. This is going to be a video explaining the Exam 1 policies and guidelines. I feel like I was pretty thorough with everything, but I just felt like it would probably make sense for me to read through it and then just kind of add anything as we go, just maybe give you a better sense of exactly what the expectation is. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and start reading, and then I will reiterate some things as they come up. So welcome to Exam 1, covering modules 1 through 5. The test breakdown. This exam will consist of 10 multiple choice questions, 4 points each, 4 short answer questions. The points vary. The first 3 are 5 points, and then the last one is 15 points. It's a big 5-part question. All stuff you have done, and then 4 scenario-based problems. These are going to be problems that are more geared toward, the chapters or the modules 3, 4, and 5 concepts. And I don't know if you guys can hear it now, but in my last video I mentioned there being a jackhammer in the background or some construction equipment that you might hear. I don't know if you can hear that now. I certainly can hear it, so I apologize if you can hear that, but they're still doing waterproofing work in our basement, and they are currently taking out a lot of concrete and stuff, and I'm going to be laying some piping. So anyways, back to the Exam 1 policies and guidelines. So I mentioned the 4 scenario-based problems, 10 points each. You only have to answer 3 of the 4 of them in the time allotted. Okay. If you answer all 4, you'll have the opportunity to get extra credit. Okay. So if you do the quick math, there's 40 points in the multiple choice. There is 30 in the short answer, and then there is 40 possible in the scenario base for a total possible of 110 points. And the exam will be graded out of 100. Okay, so there's an opportunity for extra credit. All right, I have provided you with the necessary formula sheet for the exam. I have provided you with the necessary formula sheet for exam along with any tables you need to solve the problems. The formula sheet can be found in Course Materials, Content, Exam 1 Materials. Print this off before starting the exam. So when you read this, go print it off. It's just 1 page, but you'll need that for the exam, or at least you would like to have that for the exam. You don't have to, but I am providing that to you. The tables will be provided to you within the problem that requires them. So you do not get to print those off. You are not allowed to print those off. They'll be on screen during the problem for which you're answering them. So let me just go ahead and show you where to find this. I mean, I know that's probably self-explanatory. Let's see here. So we go to Course Materials, Content, and Exam 1 Materials, right here. So here is a reiteration of what I'm doing today, the test taking guidelines, and the Exam 1 formula sheet. Okay, let's just pull it up within Brightspace here and see what it looks like. Okay, so that is the concept right there. Has everything you need in terms of formulas. You know, there's obviously definitions and whatnot that it's on you to memorize. And you need to know what things mean, but here is the formula sheet. I'm giving you all the formulas, so you don't have to memorize any of that. Okay? So that's that. So that can currently be found. Over there. So let me make it back to the course homepage where we were. There we are. Okay. Time. You have 2 hours to complete the exam once you start and are unable to pause. All right, so once that clock starts ticking, you cannot pause. Okay? If so, I suggest you go to the bathroom before, you have, your water bottle or, whatever it is, like anything that you need to be comfortable for test taking, just have that with you, and have, done your business otherwise, okay? So you're not able to pause, and now we are using Respondus, and we'll get to that in a second, but the Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser, the Respondus Monitor will be watching you take the test, so it'll be watching you via your webcam, and it'll notice and it'll show if you leave the screen, okay? So if you need to leave the screen, you'll need to actually explain that, so you'll just say, hey, it's an emergency, I really got to go to the bathroom, whatever, and then you go. That shouldn't be the case, though. You should have done that before. This should model a test-taking scenario in real life, in the classroom setting, where it wouldn't be okay to just leave the classroom, just for any reason and go to the bathroom for fear that you might be looking at notes or something like that, okay? So please leave that for an emergency scenario only. And just to be honest, I am going to be really interested, if you do happen to leave the screen. That's going to be, it flags within the software. I'll go back and I'll view that, and it'll be an issue. Okay, so only for emergencies. Should you do that? But by all means, if there is an emergency, do what you need to do. Okay. All right. So we were just on the 2 hours, and we'll get to this as well. But it'll also show me and tell me and flag and all this stuff. The video will do this, and it'll let me know if there's another person on the screen. Or if just in general, your behavior is weird, So here's the thing, I'm going to be really upfront with you guys. I don't love the idea of this software. To me, it feels fairly intrusive, okay? But we have had instances in the past where people have breached the academic integrity and have cheated. And so this is a way to mitigate that. It's unfortunate that we have to do it this way, but we do. Okay. So, yeah, that's what I have to say on that matter. Okay. So next, the academic integrity, the UA-CBA academic integrity policy governs this exam. We take this very seriously, and any breach of this will result in potential consequences outlined in the syllabus. Okay. If I find that you're in violation of the academic integrity policies, at minimum, you're going to fail the class. And at maximum, it would be submitted to the judicial board, and, further repercussions could be the case. I don't mean to sound so ominous, but as long as you're handling this up front, and honestly, you have nothing to worry about, right? Just don't cheat. That's all. Okay. Fair enough. All right, the structure. You will need to have a blank piece of paper and a pencil for the exam. Okay? For the short answer and scenario-based problems, you are to show all work performed in writing and simply input your answers into Brightspace. Okay? So, and I'll just finish reading this, then I'll explain. If you do not input both places, you will not receive credit. Being an online class, this has two functions. One, a security measure in that the work is performed during your test window. And two, for me to be able to give you partial credit on answers that aren't fully correct. Please pay close attention to the number of decimals it asks for in the problem. For certain problems, it differs. This is meant to make calculations easier on you for specific problems. Okay, and then for the multiple choice, there's no partial credit given. You can use the paper as a scratch pad for these, but no partial credit will be given. Okay, so this is very, very, very important. So when you sit down to take this test, you should have a blank piece of white paper or a blank piece of college ruled or something like that. Okay, you'll have a blank piece of paper. Okay, so lost my train of thought. So it's going to be very important that you show your work on all the short answer and scenario-based problems. So those are numbers 11 through 18. Okay, it'll be very obvious because the short answers are the ones where you have to input answers, and the scenario-based problems also you input answers. Okay, the multiple choice, you just pick from the answers. Okay, but so any work, so you have to show your work in the way that it asks, right? Or just in the way that you know how to do the problem. Okay, and then thus, if you get the wrong answer at the very end of it, I can look at your paper and give you partial credit. It might be something where you accidentally, like on your paper, well, yeah, I won't get into that. But anyways, I want to be able to give you partial credit on the stuff that, like, maybe you just missed one, portion of the concept. So I want to be able to give you 8 of 10 points or 6 of 10 points or whatever it is, given the way that you answered the question, okay? So it really is for those two functions. I want to make sure that the work is done during the testing window and when you're actually sitting there taking the test. And then also I need to be able to give you partial credit. So the answers, first and foremost, need to match what is in Brightspace with what's on the paper, right? So if that's not the case, then I can assume that the work wasn't done during the testing window, right? So that's that. So we'll get to the submission of that because you're ultimately going to submit that piece of paper that you're writing on. Okay. Respondus Monitor Lockdown Browser. If you haven't already done so, take the Respondus Monitor sample quiz in assignments, quizzes, and exams to get acclimated. As mentioned previously, you will need this to take this exam. You can't take the exam without this. Okay. In that, it's going to do a series of checks. It's going to do a webcam check. It's going to do a student photo check. So it's going to ask you to kind of like take your picture. And you'll need to have your ID on you. Okay, so you're going to show your zip ID to the camera, not your like driver's license. I don't want any of that, but just your zip card. Then it's going to ask you to do an environment check. So to the best of your ability, you'll have to show what's around you. And like if the camera is embedded in your monitor, like you don't have to like swing the monitor around or anything like that. But you got to do your best to like show that like there's nobody else around you. You don't have like a hidden book or like some sort of notes that like you're keeping on the side or whatever. Okay. And what was the additional instructions? Here we go. During this exam, you shouldn't access other resources, a phone, tablet, notes, books, etc., or communicate with other people. Please stay in your seat and focus on the computer screen until the exam is complete. If an interruption occurs, briefly explain what happened by speaking directly to your webcam. And finally, remember that you cannot exit the exam until all questions are completed and submitted for grading. Okay, so it's going to tell you that. I just read that off. Okay. All right, so on to submission. By the end of the exam, you'll have selected answers for the multiple choice questions. Input answers into the answer boxes allotted for each problem within the 2-hour period. Okay. Though all work for the scenario-based and short answers problem must be shown in a separate sheet of paper. You will turn that piece of paper in by scanning it and uploading it to the assignment submission folder for Exam 1 called Unit 1 Exam Scan Submissions PDF. Okay, up to 24 hours after completing the exam. This should be done in the PDF format. Okay, so make sure that you've scanned it in or taken a photo of it. Okay, whichever is fine, so long as I can read it, and decipher what your work says. But then also that it's in PDF form. Okay, so there's various ways to get it into PDF form using the web. You just search. If you take a picture of it and it is a PNG or a JPEG or something, like you can find ways to convert that to a PDF. So I just need you to do that within 24 hours of submitting. This ensures timely grading and all that. Okay. If you do not upload this to the assignment submission folder, you will get a 0 on the exam. Okay. This is to mitigate academic dishonesty, which we have current checks for that are and will be regularly employed in the class. Okay. Again, guys, I don't mean to sound so ominous. I know that in my other videos I'm probably sound like a nice human being, and I certainly don't mean to sound like anything other than that ever. But this is something that we take very, very seriously, and it is just something that everybody needs to just be on the up and up with, okay? Because when it's not, it's a frustrating situation for everybody, okay? All right. Lastly, for this exam, you are allowed to use a calculator, not a cell phone. No notes of any kind will be allowed. Okay, so what you have for this exam, you can use a calculator, you can use the formula sheet that I gave you, and then the tables. Okay, the tables will be provided to you, though, within the quiz, within the exam. So when you get to a problem where you need a table, the tables will be there for you to use. Okay, I've already made the exam. Everything is in there. It's ready to go, okay? If you have any questions, please let me know and I will do my best to answer them. Once the testing window opens, I will no longer be able to answer questions regarding concepts learned in the class. But if you have questions on test-taking policies, logistics, etc., I will still be able to answer questions, to answer questions throughout the testing window. Okay? Yeah, guys, so I do want to stress that, though. Okay, if anything that I've said was unclear or if you're confused about anything, shoot me an email. That's probably going to be the best way to get a hold of me because it comes automatically to my phone. Generally, I'll check that, every now and then. But I want you guys to succeed on this. I want you guys to do well. I'm excited for this test for you. I think you guys are going to do well. But yeah. Please let me know if you have any questions, and up until midnight tonight, if I'm up that late, which I probably won't be, but up until midnight tonight, or whenever I go to bed tonight, I'll answer questions regarding content of the class and concepts of the class, and then any of these logistical matters I'll answer throughout the weekend. But once the testing window starts, I can't answer any questions about any of the modules or anything like that. Okay, guys. Well, I know that this was a long-winded video, but I felt like it was probably important for me to walk through these concepts with you. Thanks so much for your participation. Thanks so much for being willing to use the Respondus Monitor lockdown browser software. I know that it's a lot, but it's something that we need to do for an online class to kind of force the integrity of the class. Alrighty, thanks so much, guys, and good luck on the test.